I'd like to welcome you to the 2025 Converge, the RoboHead User Conference. This session is our customer spotlight with Cheryl Gokey from America's Credit Unions. And we're going to really be discussing lessons from a RoboHead integration with Excel, automating that creative fulfillment to reclaim some strategic time. So, again, thank you everybody for joining. We all know the challenges of manual data entry and inconsistent reporting. It's a universal struggle. And today we have Cheryl Gokey with America's Credit Unions, who has firsthand experience in tackling this problem with her team. So she's here to share her journey and a solution she helped to implement. So, again, thank you, Cheryl, for being here. Could you start by just giving us a brief introduction to your role with America's Credit Unions and how you're leveraging RoboHead with your team?
Sure, I'd love to. So I'm Cheryl Gokey. I'm with America's Credit Unions Association. I'm the director of creative fulfillment. Uh, we are the National Association for Credit Unions, and my job in particular is one that combines both the strategic work within our creative services department, as well as handling our vendor relationships and conversations with our print vendors for getting everything printed from a postcard to random yard signs. So I handle just a little bit of everything.
Okay. And can you give us just kind of an overview of what your situation was like before you found basically a better way to integrate with RoboHead?
Sure, I'd love to. So we use an Excel spreadsheet for all of our print work. So all that stuff that I was talking about ordering, like postcards, brochures, table tents, any signage, anything like that. It would come through our print team, and then we would have a spreadsheet that is what we use to coordinate with um, our on-site shipping department. So they needed to know when was something coming in, what was it, what we wanted them to do with it once we got it. That clearly is one of the bigger things where it's like, do we need to set it aside for a shipment going out to an event? Do we need to take it up and drop it off with an administrative assistant? Do we need it put somewhere? Or do we need to even just mail it out? Those have happened before too.
Mhm.
And so what would happen is that we had moved our our print requests for into RoboHead in June of 2024. And so what would happen is someone would fill out the request form, and then we would have to stop and manually enter on a line in a spreadsheet all the information that we were trying to pass over to them, which is like the project, the quantities, the dates, all of it. You had to make sure you got the right stuff from one spot to another. And it was just kind of painful because then you would go back to what you were doing, and then you had to like prep the files to go over to the printer, and then you had to email the printer. And so you had to leave the programs that you were working in to stop and find this Excel file and add it in there. And it was very painful.
So, how did you arrive at this being the solution? What was kind of that aha moment that led you to consider doing an automation?
Well, it was kind of funny. Kathy and I had been talking about previous to this particular automation. We had been trying to figure out if we could move graphic files from RoboHead into HubSpot. And what we discovered is HubSpot wouldn't allow us to move the files. So I knew about the integrations. I was like, not always trying to think of one, but I was just kind of aware of the fact that they were available. And then I went on vacation. And when I went on vacation, I had to train somebody in a day, which was probably more my fault than anybody else's, but try and get through to them, like, approve the request. Then you come over to the spreadsheet, you add all this stuff in the spreadsheet, then you go back to what you were doing here. And she was like, Cheryl, is this really necessary? And I said, yes, unfortunately, this part is really necessary. And after I went on vacation and I came back, I was talking to my boss, and she's just like, Cheryl, would this make your life easier if we found a different way to do it? And I said, yes. And she goes, do you have any ideas? And I said, what about an integration with RoboHead? What if we could just tell RoboHead to put all that information in the spreadsheet? So that's kind of what got us from point A to starting point of B.
Mhm. That's great. Can you walk us through kind of what your process was with RoboHead once you decided to explore that option?
Yes. I reached out to Kathy and I said, hey, I got another integration idea. And I like asking Kathy because she kind of vets my thoughts because I like many people I feel like who use RoboHead, we kind of want to keep pushing it to do more, and so she just kind of tries to tamp down our crazy or at least push us in the right direction to be like, yeah, sure, let's talk to the support team. And
Mhm.
so once Kathy said, yep, this is something I think we can do, she sent the information over to the support team and they reached out to me and we set up a meeting and then sat down and talked through what did I really want to do? What did I want to accomplish? What could be a trigger for it? What could be all the things? And then they went back into their little support team people and talked through and like I think I did get a few emails with just some questions around it just to clarify a few points. And then we had another meeting where at this point it felt like the support team had a pretty good idea of what they wanted to do, but we needed to talk to my internal IT team to make sure firewalls, where we can store stuff, access issues, all that good fun stuff when you're trying to be all secure in life.
Mhm.
And once we had that discussion, I think it was maybe like a week or two later, they were like, we're ready to test it out. And then we started just testing it. And once we tested it, there still were a few things where I'm just like, hey, can we do, I forget what it was, but there was something that I wanted to do where I'm like, hey, can we do this as well? And then eventually we got it to the point where it was just kind of functioning. And then I'm like, great. So what happens in 2025? I'm like, are we able to add like a second sheet? And so there are a few things that we've still gone back and forth on, but overall, like that's how we got from one end to the other.
So, really, when we talk about the specifics of your what we call Zap, is because we're using a middleware called Zapier. So, you create Zaps, that's what creates that automation, if you will. But specifically, what yours was it was automatic updates to the Excel spreadsheet based on a RoboHead project type, correct?
Yes, that was the trigger we decided is that we would pick a project type and that would be what sends it into the spreadsheet, which I think works great.
And then does it also, if somebody enters if your printer is entering things into the spreadsheet, does it go back into RoboHead?
So it's actually our shipping guy down in
Thank you.
shipping or whoever's doing it, but same concept. But yes,
Yes.
um, when the thing comes in theory, Curtis will go in and enter the information for it, and then it enters that information into part of the project form for us. So not only do we have the spreadsheet, so he knows he received it, but we also have the RoboHead project form, so we know we received it.
Yeah. I think that was the second part you were trying to remember because I think you came up with
Yes.
that as part of your process as you were working through what should this automation be with our team. Does that sound
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes, it does. And I mean, part of it was is that I also I got really excited when we started talking about it. So while they were over there thinking through like how are we gonna do it, I like went in and like built out the form. So I had all the information I thought I wanted in there.
Mhm.
Because that was part of it too, was just determining like what information did we need in the spreadsheet, what information did we need Curtis to fill out and come back to us.
Gotcha. So, at what point, or did you see, how soon did it take to see kind of the effects of this automation, would you say? And what
Oh, it
were
was
some of those effects as well?
I mean, we saw the benefits of it almost immediately. Like when you no longer have to, when the request comes in and you approve it, and your next step is prep the file, send it to the printer, and you never have to stop to
Mhm.
go find the spreadsheet and fill it in. It's just amazing. It's a great feeling. This is something that makes me truly happy in life. When I think about it, it just really makes me excited that it's like it just happens. It's just there, and on top of it, you know, one of the things that we struggled with a little bit was making sure that we're getting the correct information over through the spreadsheet, because you always think you're putting in the right thing, but it's not always the same. And so knowing that like it just automatically happens and then it just goes in there and then it comes back to us, and at the same time I'm like I know that I'm putting the right information in there.
Mhm. That's perfect. And some of the other benefits that I kind of wanted to talk through, but I think probably the most dramatic that I found was just the time savings that you found. Can you kind of talk us through what kind of time savings you found with this?
Sure. So on an average week, we probably get, maybe 6 to 7 print requests across an average week. When we're heading towards an event or certain times of the year, they start increasing to like at 12 or double digits and more. And it usually saved on average, it was probably saving somewhere with like 5 to 10 minutes of time per request to not have to stop and fill out this other form, which
Mhm.
doesn't feel like a ton of time. But at the same time, like in my role, I have strategic needs. I'm doing plans, I'm working on projects, I'm overseeing stuff. So I'm like, that's even just 5 minutes getting back over the course of even a day can just be so much time when you think about it. And then now I have somebody reporting to me, and this is half of her job. So half of her job is design work, and then the other half of it is print. And so we don't have somebody that can truly just spend all their time doing like just moving around orders. And so getting back like 5 to 10 minutes per request starts adding up when you think about a whole week.
Yeah, and I did do the math on that, and I was really surprised as well because it just sounds like it's 5, 10 minutes, a week, something like that. Well, maybe a little bit more than that. But anyway, we figured out, based on the numbers that you gave me, 3 hours a week was about 156 hours per year, which equals to 3 to 4 weeks per year, that you're gaining back, that you can actually put towards those things that you were mentioning, whether it's strategic focus, work, things like that. So I thought that was really interesting, and I was quite surprised at how much this little change gave you that much time back. So I thought that was pretty neat. Um, Also, for anybody who is attending today, and facing a similar challenge, what would you say is, just some advice that you would give them, for getting started on something like this?
Look for the small things. Look for the small things that just kind of irritate you, where you're just like, ugh, why do I have to do that? It seems like a weird way to think about it, but at the same time, I'm like, this was something that, yeah, we could physically do. We didn't need to spend the money, the time on it, but at the same time, like it was so annoying when it came right down to it, and so important too. So when we had the opportunity to talk through like, can we automate it and just make it happen? It honestly just helped so much, and just keeping it simple and um, quick felt good overall.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's great. Um, so we have a little bit of extra time, so I just wanted to ask you a question. How long did it take, would you say, from the time that you decided to pursue this with us and the actual running and having your automation set up and ready to go, would you say?
I think it was between 2 and 3 months. Part of it, I think there were some internal, like just timing issues that got a little off. So it's like sometimes you can't make a decision until you have like just make sure you have all your ducks in a row. But
Mhm.
it took maybe 2 to 3 months, just simply because there was, like I was saying before, there was a little bit of back and forth, and you need to meet with RoboHead. They need to truly understand what you're asking them to do, and sometimes I think it takes a minute to like look at it and be like, oh, this is what we're trying to do. So it wasn't super quick, but it didn't feel really slow either. Like I said, it was something that we could manage to do by hand,
Mhm.
but once you take it away, and then you're like, oh my gosh, so much time. So, but yeah, that's what I remember.
That's good. And now you do get to take a vacation, or you can actually be sick and not feel guilty about it.
Yep. Now I,
Nice.
I feel much better about this aspect of it. I'm like, it just, like I said, it brings me so much joy. It honestly is probably kind of funny to some people when I talk about it, but I'm like, it brings me so much joy when I think about it. And I'm like, it was one of the better decisions we've made. And now I'm just kind of on the lookout for like, what can I do next? Or at the same time, like my next goal is that once Curtis and shipping fills out that received part, when the information comes back into RoboHead, it can like send out an email to whoever it was that ordered the thing, so they know that their stuff's there. So like we don't have to manually do anything.
Mhm.
So that's like the next goal. So now I'm just thinking ahead and like, what can I do next using the same kind of philosophy where it's like, what's something simple and small that would just make life a little easier?
Yeah, well, that's great. I'll be reaching out to you so we can work through that one too, Cheryl. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and also just the results and benefits that you've received by such seems like a small integration, but clearly made such a difference. Also, I'd like to thank everybody else for joining us today. If you have questions about integrations with Zapier, you can always go to online help and just do the search for Zapier, but I have put the link here as well. You can also reach out to support, and they can get you in touch with me, and we'll start the process for you. If you happen to have my email, Kathy Lewandowski, feel free to reach out to me directly as well. So thanks everybody for taking the time to attend. Have a great one. Thank you.